You're doing well. God bless you. Hope all is well with you. Hope that things are well with you and your family. We're gonna go live today, and we're gonna ask ourselves a question: what did it mean to slay Apep? What does it mean to slay Apep? So hope you're doing well. God bless you. We're gonna jump into this and talk this a little bit about, the concept of Ra, the concept of God's life force, and what were the Kemetic people talking about when they said slay Apep? What did that even mean? This arch nemesis of Ra. What did it mean? So we're gonna jump into that just really quickly. But I do want to say up front, thank you so much for those who've supported me and been looking out for ways to support me. I greatly appreciate it. I want to mention, I have books that are available on Amazon that you can just buy. And one of the newer books is The Adventures of Ptahhotep. It's kind of an historical fiction book that's set place in ancient Kush. I won't give you all the kind of mirror way in ancient Kush. I won't give you all the specifics on it, but it's a fun tale that's available on Kindle. And plus, I have a number of books: Religion of Black Land, Stories about Black History, and 10 Things Your Child Should Know. They're all there, and you can see the link in the description, my Amazon link to my author page. I actually support me and to take a look at it. Those books are fun and it may be educational, something you can learn about. And I also want to mention that there are several things that I'm working on that I've done, and I want to mention for those who are members, thank you so much for being a member of this YouTube channel. It's just $4.99 a month. I appreciate it. As you know, I'm providing resources that you can download. So I give you the site and access to the site, where you can download a library of resources. And a couple of new things I have is some timelines of the New Kingdom and of the Old Kingdom to give you an idea to kind of set in your mind when these things took place. When did Akhenaten live? Who was almost the first? What happened during the Old Kingdom? When were the pyramids built? Very specific things that are major things in ancient Kemetic history and events that you can look right at the timelines. And you can download that along with a number of things. So it's not just the timelines that I have available for those who are members, like I said, for $4.99 a month. And I thank you. It's also online courses. I have online courses, and as I said, a series of mini books and many textbooks that go along with the courses, and books that stand on their own that you can read and download just for the $4.99 a month. So I appreciate it. I'm hoping to give you resources, not just information, not just fluff, or not just me talking, but a way for you to dig into this information deeper and maybe have resources that you can share with your children. So when your children go to school, which your kids are going back to school, they're in school now, you look at them, when they get a lot of information, sometimes you don't know what to share with them to maybe combat some of the things they learn, or just to combat maybe a negative self-esteem that they may have, or their confidence because they don't understand history and their place in history, and how and what did our people do, and how do we know if anything came out of a particular area. Well, hopefully these resources can help you fight that, giving you sources and specifics and images and context around that. So that's available to YouTube members for $4.99 a month. I very much appreciate it. I greatly appreciate that. So take a look at our library, the resources that we have, and the courses that I'm developing for those who are members of here on YouTube and who are looking to support. So I very much appreciate that, and I hope we can grow the community. So God bless you, and thank you for the $4.99 a month. I really do appreciate it. God bless you. So we're gonna talk this whole area, this whole idea about what is Apep and what does it mean to slay Apep. What does that mean? God bless you. Thank you so much. That good guy. Thanks so much. God bless you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. There you go. So as you think about that, as we think about, what does it mean to slay Apep, and what were the Kemetic people talking about when they talked about Ra a lot of times, and they talked about this arch nemesis of Apep. And I want to say up front, I'm going to talk about this from the standpoint of what does it mean for me today? What does it mean to me? What could it potentially mean to you? And I'd love to hear your thoughts and your comments about it, because I don't want this idea, this theology, this philosophy, this information, this gold, if you will, that the Kemetic people were talking about, that the Kushite people were living and talking about. I don't want it just to be poo-pooed and just, mooshed over and just kind of walked over. We talk a lot about the amazing things they did and amazing artwork. And this is a tune from the New Kingdom, just showing us an example of a man with his wife, and they're going out on an expedition. But I don't want to just talk about these things and say, wow, but not look at their philosophy. Not look at their theology. So much of their theology, so much of their philosophy can help us today. Never mind the fact that obviously it helped other people, like Greek people, and a lot of things that we're doing today. A lot of it was based off of Kemetic philosophy and theology. We just don't give it credit. But even beyond that, we don't give it credit. But even beyond that, looking into it and what can it do for us today? How can it help us today? So as we talk about it, that the expression of God that's seen as your life force, that's seen as a bright, shining light and powerful force in your life is Ra. And you can read a lot of Kemetic literature with respect to Atum, which is one expression of God, Ra or Ptah, like we've talked about in the Shabaka stone, of there being an expression of God. And as God brought life into being, as God brought all the things that you see around you into being, there was an awakening, if you will. There was a primeval waters where things existed that were not differentiated. There was a bit of just no form. Things were not formed. There was formlessness, if you will. There was a void. And as God woke up, the Kemetic people at one time would call that God Ra, and you would think of that as represented in the sun as a power force. Sometimes they would call it Ptah, being represented in what speaks things to life, or a tomb, something that can recreate itself. So that first awakening of God was given the name Atum or Ptah or Ra, but these were just aspects of the same idea of there being one deity that first arose, if you will. And if you think about that deity, and with respect to things that you see in tombs with respect to our tomb, or if you want to look at some of the things like the going forth or the overthrowing of Apep and the book of the manifestations of Ra, you can read that, just so I'm giving that to you as a reference if you want to read it. But in this particular instance, it's talking about, in this particular text, one of the texts talks about, and it's from almost the Ptolemaic age, is from that age which talks about just the manifestations of Ra. But you can go back farther and look at coffin texts, as well as pyramid texts that talk about a tomb, as well as Ptah and the Shabaka stone during the Kushite period in the 8th century BC, and hear these same kinds of concepts of there being one God bringing forth all things into life. And as God brought all things into life, as this manifestation of Ra, if you will, and this life forth, this bright light, if you will, this sun that can be shining in your life, there seemed to be a story of Ra being able to kind of, carry the light in the boat, to be able to carry the sun, if you will, in a boat, and rise in the morning time and be at height at the noonday and then set. And when that cycle would take place, as Ra would rise every day, and think about God rising, that joy rising in you every day. At nighttime, there would be a fight. At nighttime, there would be a challenge where Ra would have to travel through this land, this mysterious land, and would be attacked. And the deities that were expressions of God, just like you and I, that were expressions of God, would also be there to help Ra and to fight against his arch nemesis, if you will, this Apep, which was like a mean dragon or serpent, this kind of evil beast or serpent that had to be slayed, and had to be slayed every night in order for Ra to rise the next day. And every day Ra would defeat him. And when you think about that whole idea of fighting against something that's breaking into or fighting against your shine, fighting against the sunlight in your life, that whole idea that manifestation of God would have some type of enemy, that there would be some type of opposition to the light that should be shining in your life, right? Some type of opposition to that sun that should be shining in your life. And when you think about that opposition, when you really think about it, is you. It's you and me. That's really what it boils down to. I'm not saying that there aren't other, factors. We're going to just deal with this and the things we have control of. A lot of times the things that are stopping us, and the main thing that's stopping us from having that light shine in our life is ourselves. And so when you think about, there's another Kemetic text that talks about, and it's an ancient text that talks about God creating things and creating people. And I've talked about it before on this channel, creating things and creating people in a way that they are equal, where nobody is better than anybody else. And it also mentions to say that God didn't create evil in the world. Mankind does evil. People do evil by their own choices, by their own decisions. God gave us free will, and that's also a divine aspect of God. And the fact that you have the ability to decide. You have the ability to have various things kind of competing in your mind or competing in your life, and you can decide what to do with it. And that idea, that incredible choice that you have, makes us better than, in some respects, better than in terms of closer to God than in a divine way than a lot of things than this table or a lot of things that you might see, because that idea of you have the ability to choose. And when you think about it, when you think about Ra slaying Apep, that's really God slaying, being able to slay the things in you, the things in your life that are stopping you from becoming godlike. And when I see that, and I've said that before, I've asked the question, where does evil come from? Where do bad things come from? And I believe they come from people. I don't believe there's this special, thing that we have to put out there, some special to say, where does it comes from you and I, it comes from people. People do bad things. It's not like the mysterious. People do bad things. When you think about slavery and the evil things, and people ask, why did slavery happen? Because people made it happen. That's why it happened. Bad things. You want to know what's going on in wars. You want to know what's going on in Holocaust, various things. People did that. We must be honest and hold people accountable for their actions. People did it, as well as when you see people do great things. I think about the civil rights movement, and I think about people like Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks and Fannie Lou Hamer and so many people, Ella Baker, so many people. People did that. God manifested, and it was divine. It was an amazing thing. The things that took place and the things they were able to accomplish through love, through a nonviolent way, even though there was violence all in the civil rights. The fact that they were able to do it was amazing, was nothing short of amazing, was nothing short of divine, was nothing short of amazing. And when I think about that, that's God working through them. And it's people beginning to walk in the ways of God. It's people allowing that to happen to them. So I think that you can look at the good in the world and look at that manifestation of God and that divinity. And you can look at the things that happen in the world that you don't want and put people and our decisions right at the center of that. That ability to choose what's right and that ability to choose what's wrong. I think we have that ability. And I know people will argue, whether or not we have a choice. I think we have a choice. I think you have a choice right now. You can listen or not listen. You can hurt yourself, not hurt yourself. You can cut off the television during the football season and study things that will help your life, as opposed to maybe spending hours watching somebody else and not accomplishing the things you want to accomplish. You have choices. You can do that. Nothing is forcing you. It literally is a choice. And when you start to think about it, you start to say, let me peel back these things. I may have things in my life that are forces that are kind of pushing me in one way or another, but I have the ability to choose. I have the ability to decide. And the fact that you may think that you don't is just a perception. That's just your perception. Like the flea who thinks that he can't jump out of the jar and there's no lid on the jar. You can actually get out. You actually have enough power and strength to change things in your life. So let's talk about how. So when I think about Apep and I think about what is Apep, I think Apep is that energy, that thing, that person, whatever it might be that's in your life that's stopping God's light from shining in you, stopping that ray of sun. Every day you get up, you should be happy. Me too. It's not just everybody we get, we should be happy. We should have joy every day. And there's no reason why we can't. We should walk through our lives with joy. And anything that we have that we're thinking about, experiencing, seeing, feeling, that's causing that joy not to be manifested is something we got to cut it out. We got to slay it. Jesus said, if your right arm offends you, cut it off. It's better that you go to heaven maimed without all your members than if you go to hell with all your body. You know what I'm saying? Imagine living your life in hell, like living your life in non-glory, living your life in a very unhappy way your entire life, no matter what you have around you, and not being able to slay that one thing that's stopping you from being joyful, that's stopping God's light from shining. And that's what I look at Ra as, from shining in your life in its fullness, in its brightness. We should wake up with joy. And a lot of that has to do with our perspective and the choices we make. The one thing God did, God gave us the ability to be at peace and to have joy and to let that decision and that power lie within us. That even though we may think, and that's just a thought, that other people are determining our happiness, they're not. It really is us. And it would be kind of mean, if you will, for God to give us a life and not give us the ability to have the key to life, which would be happiness and peace. Give that to somebody else. That power belongs to nobody else. As much as you might think it is, that's just your perception. That power belongs to nobody else. There are things you can do in your life that you never thought you could do. That's what the whole word Haru or hero means. Being able to accomplish something that you didn't think you could accomplish. You didn't think you should accomplish, right? You didn't think you should do this, or you didn't think you were worthy of it. You didn't think you could do it. That whole ability of rising above it. That's what Haru, that's what a hero means. That's what you can do. That's within you. God gave you and me that ability. And the idea that it's not there is just your perception. It's just our perception, the perception that I can't do it. I don't believe I can do it, so I'm not even going to try. And one of the key ways you think that you can't do anything is to keep thinking that you can't do it. I think about that for a second, is to keep going over like 99 reasons in your mind, 100 reasons why you can't do a certain thing, even though you feel it, even though you know somewhere in your heart, even though it gives you a sunshine and a joy, even though you feel motivated. That fear and that list of things that whatever it is that comes up in your mind that says, I can't do this, or I'm not happy, or this can't be accomplished in my life. That is Apep, and it's lying consistently within our belief system. And our perspective of ourselves. That's the most important perspective you have in your whole life, is the view you have of yourself, right? What you think of yourself and what you do, what power is emanating from you. And I say, if any, like Jesus said, if your right arm offends you, cut it off. If you are having a situation where you can't find peace in your life and you find that you're spending a lot of time watching TV, cut it out. If you're watching football, and I just say football, I'm picking on football. If you're watching football, and I think of things in my own life, you're watching football and that's taking up too much of your time, and you don't find yourself expressing the joy that you need, that you know you can feel, cut it out. Cut the football out. If a book will help you better than a television, read the book. If that show will help you better, watch that show. If this person gives you light, interact with that person. If you were interacting with somebody, and this is for women, ladies, men, if you find somebody and they're acting outside of Maat and you are not finding real peace with them, cut that out. Cut it out, because it ain't going to come. Cut it out. Because God gives you peace, and what God gives you helps you, loves you, brings you closer to him and benefits you. It doesn't hurt you. It doesn't harm you. If you see that person, that energy, that thing, you got to cut it out. So that whole idea of perspective and what you see and what you view can sometimes block the light that God has shining within you. It's like putting your own sunshades on and blocking out your own light, where you can't see your own light. That view you have of yourself, that perspective you have of yourself. And when I think about it, you ask yourself, how do we do this? Because this is not just how do we do this? And why did the Kemetic people talk so much about slaying Apep? And why did you have to do it every day? Why was this a constant fight? It literally is a constant battle, a constant reminder that you have to have of yourself that, I am a manifestation. I am who God made me to be. I do have joy. I have joy resonate. I have a right to be. I don't have to be in a situation where I have to be not at peace. Joy can be my state of act. Joy can be my general state of how I operate. That could be how I am. I don't have to have something outside of that. It is a continual. It's almost like a flower. Like imagine you had a wonderful garden, and your garden, the flowers that you see growing in your garden represent your joy. They represent your joy. They represent your peace. And what do you have to do to keep these flowers going all the time? Well, you got to give them attention. Right? You got to pour water on them. You can't just put your flower and put it in the dark and expect them to grow. You got to give them sunlight. And your sunlight is attention. You got to focus on your own health, focus on your own spirituality, focus on your own peace. You got to give it time. You give it water, right? If it was a garden, you would feed the flowers water. You would maybe give it nutrients. You make sure the soil is rich. The thing that it's growing in, right? The thing that it's rooted in is rich and full of nutrients. You would make sure it got enough sunlight and attention. And how do we do that with ourselves? Prayer and meditation, reading, spending time on your spirituality, spending time on the things that God has for you to do. Everybody has a purpose. And I believe everybody really knows their purpose. I believe in your heart, you know your purpose. You may drown it out. You may add doubt on it. You may toss and, like you put hot sauce on it. You may douse, doubt onto your purpose. You may put cloud and you may put fear on top of your purpose, but the purpose is there. When you spend time on it, shoot, if you're going to watch YouTube all day, every day about things that have to do with what you're supposed to do with your life. Don't just watch it for gossip. Don't just watch it for things that have nothing to do with, watch it for something that's key to you, something that motivates you, something that makes you feel closer to God, something that makes you feel that joy and that sunlight in your life. Spend time doing that. If you end up watching things in your mind, just like the Shabaka stone we talked about, whatever you think about, whatever you meditate on, whatever you spend your time thinking about, praying on, and reading is like prayer. Reading is like meditation. Even when you sit and watch a movie at times and you're quiet and you're engaged and you're feeling some kind of emotion when you're watching it, you are really kind of meditating and bringing something into your spirit. You're spending time cultivating whatever energy is in that movie. And sometimes, we see our children, we see ourselves come away from an experience. We go, wow, I don't feel good for that. Or wow, I'm not confident. Or wow, I am confident. I enjoyed that. It made me feel good. And I could see myself in that character. And we wonder why our children, sometimes don't feel confident about themselves. They are monitoring on, literally meditating on in a meditative state, almost like they're going in a trance when they listen to the music and things of that nature that don't necessarily give them the peace and the joy they have in life. What's the whole purpose of life if we don't have joy? So at the end of the day, so that idea of spending time on it. So spending time on your purpose, spending time on your relationship with God and who you see you are, that has to do with reading. Read of it. If you watch things with it. Pray on it. Just meditate. If you just moan, if you just go and moan and really meditate, your spirit will talk to you. The things that the Kemetic people were talking about, they were serious about. They were not joking. The things that the Kushite people were talking, they were serious about. They were not joking. They're telling you there is a way that you can have peace. There is a way that you can conduct your life where you can have morality and reciprocity in a good way and righteousness and be able to live your life in joy. So those rules, those laws of Maat come into play. So now we're talking about spending time and attention on your purpose, but then also how do you just navigate through life? How do you navigate through things that are just happening God bless you. God bless you. So, thank you. God bless you so much, Steve. God bless you. Thank you so much. So how do you navigate through life, right? How do you see things, you meet people? What do you do? Well, the laws of Maat tells us, right? You think about the Declarations of Innocence, this is the things that people like to call the 42 negative confessions. Essentially what they were saying when they were declaring their innocence and their guiltlessness, if you will, they were saying that, I didn't hurt anybody. I lived my life in an honest way. So if we had to put the laws of Maat and these declarations of innocence into categories, to me, they would run out, and I'd love to hear your thoughts as well, but they kind of jump out into, honesty, and not just honesty. Honesty is what you believe, honesty, but also truth, living truth. That means walking in your path. I'm doing what God says from you, not what other people say. Somebody's going to look at you. They're not going to like what you say. They're going to like this and that. You can't make your decisions based on other people. If you really have that focus, you're making decisions what you believe is right for your heart, what you believe is righteous, what you believe God is leading you to do. That's walking in your truth. That's walking in the way God has for you. And sometimes you're going to have to, it takes courage to do that. But walking in truth and living that truth, and that helps balance your heart against the feather, right? Doing the things that God would have you to do. Not hurting people, right? Not murdering people. That's one of it. Not murdering people, not robbing people, not getting ill-gotten gains where you try to get something and get money just on ways that are either illegal or that hurt other people in the gain that you get. So that whole idea of not robbing, not ill-gotten gains, not hurting people, not causing people to feel fear. Now these are all within the Declarations of Innocence. These are all within the Maat, if you will, the laws of Maat, the rules of Maat, if you will. Not being inappropriate when it comes to matters of intercourse, right? And matters of relationships. You're not doing impropriety, inappropriate types of things. You're not doing things deceitfully. You're not doing things to harm people when it comes to that, or just in general. That whole idea of not robbing from God. And if you start to think about it, so I'm doing not non-impropriety like things. I'm being proper in what I do. I'm not hurting people. I'm not lying. I'm living in my truth. I'm not causing someone to have fear. I'm not gaining things in an ill-gotten way. This is how I should live my life. And so the Kemetic people are telling you, you know what, when you navigate through this world, this is how you should be living. Think about that. Are you living things in the right way? This is how you should navigate it. And think about when you meet somebody, young ladies, women, men, when you meet somebody and that person you think you're falling in love with, if that person is not behaving according to these laws of Maat I just talked about, whereas they're not lying, they're living in their truth, they're not hurting people, they're not robbing people, they're not doing ill-gotten gains, they're not supporting that type of thing, they're not doing impropriety, if you will, when it comes to relations or sexual relations, that type of thing. If that person is living in those laws, look for that. If that person is not, you got to stop and say, stop. Because if they treat that person that way, they're going to treat me that way one day. They might be nice to you now, but wait a minute. Wait a while. Wait a few years or however long it takes. The same energy that was in them that made them lie to that person or cheat on that person or hurt that person or get ill-gotten gains in that way, that same energy is going to reflect on you. They're going to direct it to you. You're going to see that in them when they reach other people, and it's going to come back to you. You have to be able to say, and it's an important thing. It's a strong thing to say when you see somebody who's really not living and walking the walk and talking the talk. And I see it a lot of times, a lot of women. I see a lot of people who will meet somebody. I've even done it myself. So I'm raising my hand. I'm going to put myself, I've even done it myself, meet someone and you see something that you don't like, right? You see something that raises a red flag and you ignore it. You see something where they don't quite act like Maat. They're not really living what they're saying they're living. Maybe they lie, or maybe they cheated, or maybe they did something, and you try to make an excuse for it and you go on with them anyway. You go live on with them anyway, and it comes back to bite you. It becomes an important thing because our ancestors are giving us a map. They're saying expect the best from yourself and expect the best from others. That's how you join your families together. That's how you develop a family where, the family that prays together stays together. That's how you join your family together where you have this man and wife doing things right. You join a family together when you begin to look at these laws of Maat and live by them and expect that other people live by them. Now you can have a family where you can raise your children and teach them about truth and righteousness and not allow them to treat each other negatively or treat themselves negatively or look at themselves differently or accept when other people look at them differently other than what they are. You begin to teach your children because you actually live in that and cultivating that in your life. Now you're starting a family. And imagine you have a community like that where we expect certain things. We don't accept robbery. We don't accept lies. We don't accept whatever. Now you're starting to build a focus where people are really focused on things that actually move the community forward. that actually push people forward. Because I don't believe there's any reason, there's absolutely no reason why you should see children, whether they are living in Baltimore, Chicago, or LA, or various places like that, and have very, 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 very dismal, academic performance, right? There's no physical reason for that. I remember reading a while back in California, there was some government reports, and they were looking at different demographics, and they were finding kids who had to do immigrant work, who were doing work, migratory work, and just in town for a short period of time and having to work in the vegetable fields and fruit areas in California, were scoring better on some academic tests than some African-American middle-class students. There's no reason for that. There's no reason for it. There's no physical reason for it. The idea becomes, we obviously know there's a lot of persons there, but at the end of the day, we also have to let ourselves know that we have the ability and we have the power to choose some of these things. We have the power to say, you know what, these things are crazy. The pressures that my children have to experience are crazy in this world. I'm going to relieve that. You're not going to listen to things that teach you, that call you a bee, and you're not listening. We're not putting that here. We're not going to watch movies that don't reinforce our manhood, our womanhood, our divinity. If that movie is not reinforcing the manhood or the womanhood, the divinity of your child, don't let them watch it. I don't care how fun it is. I don't care what kind of CG. If you are interacting with something that's not reinforcing your manhood, your womanhood, your divinity, you shouldn't interact with it. You should leave it alone, because as much as you may think you'll be immune, you're not. None of us are. The things that we interact with, we're watching television, movies, or we're going to church, whether we're listening to something online, on YouTube, whatever it is, it should be reinforcing our divinity, reinforcing our womanhood, our manhood, reinforcing us in ways that strengthen us. And we got so much that we can accomplish. You can't get too strong. You can't get too strong in this, especially when you're respecting others and you're seeing yourself in other people and other people in yourself type of thing. You can't get too strong in this. And so I really think it becomes significant to be able to reinforce and to interact with things that actually strengthen you. Interaction with things that actually reinforce your divinity and who you are and who you're supposed to be. So when I look at the whole idea of slaying Apep, when I look at the whole idea of that sunshine, that sunlight rising in you, that's just something that you have to pay attention to on a daily basis. It's something that you have to reinforce on a daily basis. Your divinity, you have to live on a daily basis, and you have to let that shine, let that come out of you on a regular basis. I just wanted to share that. I'll look and see what you have in the comments, what your thoughts are about it. God bless you. Greeting to you, Miss M. God bless you. Hope that you're doing well. Wow, we didn't know you. Yes, there are books too. Yes, that you could take a look at. And I'm going to try to put out more with the books. Thank you so much, Miss M. God bless you. Yes, so it's doing. Thank you so much. So I hope that this is helpful. I hope that you think, and it helps people think, that you do not have to accept anything less than what you are. You don't have to accept anything less than joy. You don't have to accept anything less than what you are in your divinity. You have to accept it from anybody else, and not even from yourself, but especially not from anybody else. You don't have to accept it. So God bless you. I want to share more things as I come back with you. If you have any other comments and thoughts, please let me know. But I really want to leave you on this thought and this idea that you don't have to accept anything less than your divinity in anything and everything you do. God bless you. I hope you have a good day.